You are watching the Global Gamers Invitational Tournament brought to you by iFixit. SCVs for the real world. The Handsome Nerd attire for the handsomest of nerds. And Esports United, sponsored by Intel. This broadcast is also made possible by IC Cup TV, TeamLiquid.net, and of course, Blizzard Entertainment. Hello everyone and welcome back. This is Mac with Game 3 of the series between Sinatra and his opponent Suggy. The series is indeed tied at 1. Suggy getting back in the game on the previous map, Blistering Sands, with some very nice early game micro, holding off some early pressure to take a lead. And now both players are facing elimination, so I suspect we're going to see very standard play from both players. Probably going to get a long match, since neither of them is willing to do anything quite so risky as opening 2-gate presses and sort of all-in attacks. So I think we'll see very conservative strategies from both players. Once again, I do want to briefly thank those sponsors: iFixit, SCVs for the real world, and also Esports United and the Handsome Nerd. All three of those have donated to this tournament and made the large prize pool. So far, we're seeing pretty consistent with what we've seen all game. Suggy has usually opted for the more internal strategy, keeping those structures close to his base, and meanwhile Sinatra is keeping his gateway usually further forward. There aren't many reasons to go one way or the other. They're both pretty much equal, but it is nice to see that they have differing strategies. And gateway there on 11, pretty standard. Suggy a few seconds behind, and since they are adjacent positions, both players have gone the long way around, so neither of them will get any early scouting, but I don't think either player is going to be doing anything fancy, so it's quite unlikely that that late scout will matter in the least. The previous games, we definitely have seen that both these players are willing to change their strategies, which is nice to see. As I was saying in the first game, ever so briefly, it's pretty consistent to see this production tab just be identical time and time again in Protoss versus Protoss, where people are literally, except for a few seconds, building everything exactly the same. And Sinatra consistently building 2 gateways. He is chrono boosting that first zealot, and once again Suggy in just in time to see it, so he will be aware of this early pressure. And we'll see if Sinatra is able to make something happen this time. So far, his 2-gate openings have been very ineffective. Suggy been very prepared to deal with it. Game 1, the opening zealots didn't accomplish anything, and Game 2, instead opting for 2-gate stalkers, again, wasn't very effective. But chrono boosting both of those gateways to get those zealots out, sacrificing his economy, that worker difference will fall behind. But we'll see if that early pressure able to accomplish anything. Sinatra losing that probe, trying to take the shields down on that pylon so that when he arrives, it'll go down faster to his zealots. And you'll see that Suggy has opted to match the gateway of his opponent, use that travel distance time to keep himself in the game. He does have warp gate tech coming, and once that comes, he will easily be able to out-macro Sinatra, especially given that he's been chrono boosting workers instead of zealots. So he does force that first zealot away, but 2 more are about to arrive, and this will be a very important micro battle with a lot at stake. Really, it's all or nothing when it comes to these early zealot pushes. Either you do a lot of damage, or you do pretty much nothing. Trying to get a surround on that first zealot, he almost traps it, but Suggy is going to get away. Going to wait for those stalkers to come out, and I think once those are there, that will be the end of the pressure. This pylon's shields have fully regenerated, so instead, Sinatra going after those probes, see if he can't get a couple. I really shouldn't be afraid to engage those zealots either. He is going to try and get any kills will do. Able to get several probes, that's exactly what he needs to do. But those stalkers have arrived, so the zealots will have to fall back. You see that no more chrono boosting is going on. However, these opening probes of Suggy, once again sneaking probes inside. That warp gate tech is finished, and Suggy will not be able to warp him from that palm, but he does have the second one. It is detected, I imagine. Yes, it is. And these forces are retreating, and it looks like no units will be warped into Sinatra's base this time around. So both players, looks like they, or rather, I guess the Game 2 scenario will not be repeated. You might see a Game 1 scenario repeated, with Sinatra doing better in the late game. A little bit frazzled by what's going on. He is supply blocked pretty heavily, you see. Not producing anything from any of his structures for getting those pylons. That's a bit of a unusual thing to see from these pro players, but a lot going on over here, a lot going on over here. I don't think he noticed that pylon until it was almost too late. My apologies for that. We are getting a robotics facility out from Suggy, so he is opting for a 2-gate robo strategy. Like I said, it's a 3-gate robo strategy, is actually what it is. And you definitely want that robotics facility for the access to Immortals, access to Colossus, but more importantly Observers. You really want those Observers in this matchup, as it gets very hard to scout your opponent's base in the middle of the game. Also a Twilight Council, so Suggy really getting a full plate here of all the tech options. Robo Facility, Twilight Council. Maybe we'll see a Stargate in a few moments. Meanwhile, Sinatra is just sitting back. Looks like he is just now starting the Warp Gate tech, so all 3 games really not favoring Warp Gates, which is a bit surprising, but that being said, it's a little bit refreshing to see something different for once. There's nothing especially wrong with using gateways without the upgrade, and he too is getting a Robo Facility. So Suggy probably in the better position right now. He is oddly enough behind on workers. I'm not really sure why that would be. I guess Suggy must have just stopped producing probes for a while. I didn't notice that. But Sinatra does have less of a tech up in his base. You'll see that there are a lot more losses there for Suggy, so I guess that would explain the less workers. Suggy did lose quite a few probes to that early Zealot pressure, so Sinatra is reaping the rewards. However, you see that the base of Suggy does have more advanced tech than his opponents. You see he is picking up that blink for his stalkers, going to try some of that harassment similar to Game 1, using Observers for vision and getting in and doing some damage. And Sinatra, meanwhile, just massing units, probably waiting until he can get a tech edge or a numbers edge to try and force his opponent, which is consistent with Game 1. Sinatra opting for more of a strong force that you can't mess with, and Suggy preferring a more mobile force that harasses. And using that Observer, Suggy does get vision up top, but he does have, I guess he does have a superior number of stalkers, so he does have the range advantage. However, once he loses that Observer, he will no longer have vision and will be forced away, so he does back off. Sinatra seeing that large composition, mostly of stalkers, once again opting for the Immortal. That certainly early game makes a huge difference against stalkers, so maybe we'll be seeing a Colossus again. You see a huge number of stocked up minerals for Sinatra, which I find very surprising. Suggy, meanwhile, spending everything, just harassing the contours of his opponent's base, and trying to get a critical mass of stalkers that he can just use to overwhelm his opponent. Sinatra, meanwhile, I don't know why he's saving up. I think he wanted to expand. That's the best guess I can make. But not sure why he isn't spending at all. Once again, these stalkers harassing. They do blink in. The Immortal is not in position, so the stalkers are prepared to do a lot of damage. But instead, it's leading the way, and I think Suggy's actually going to once again lose more units than it's worth, because he's going to get stuck in a corner, wedged in there, trying to blink through, kill as many probes as he can, but unfortunately, Sinatra, I think, definitely going to come ahead here. Sure enough, there it is. Yes, Suggy's army just devastated, and he's just not killing enough units to make up for it. However, nice job at the end there, catching those stalkers out of position. He is going to close the gap, so yes, that was barely worth it. Well done by Suggy, turning a bad situation here. Good blink there, and using the buildings of his opponent against him, and able to do a lot of damage to Sinatra's army. So I don't know if he lost many probes. Looks like not. Still 31. The Robo Bay is up, so we are seeing a repeat of Game 1, getting another Immortal, but I'm sure we'll see a Colossus immediately after that. And a probe checking for goodness knows what, and an expansion going down for Suggy. I'm sure we'll see an expansion any moment going down for Sinatra as well. The Stalkers looking like they're going to move in. Once again, they got the sight up onto the ledge, almost losing that Observer. But Suggy is once again driven back. So Sinatra really does not have the numbers of Stalkers needed to punish his opponent during these skirmishes. You see that gap widened once again. So Suggy's doing a very, very nice job. Once again, he is inside the base, trying for that same wraparound again. Going to try and get some probes. Once again, this is a very risky play. Sinatra warping in some Zealots, but Suggy blinks right past them. The Immortals are, however, engaging with the Stalkers. Blink cooldown not quite up, and Suggy in a corner, going to lose a lot of Stalkers, but he gets out just in time. Might even be able to snipe this Nexus before he pulls out. I think he's going to get it. No, he's not quite going to get the Nexus. The Nexus does live. Suggy forced to retreat lest he lose too many Stalkers. And for a while there, that was an excellent attack, but at the end, unfortunately, losing a lot of Stalkers, not quite getting that expansion Nexus. But he's getting expansion of his own, which I suppose will do him well. Both players, I guess, just committing to the Nexus construction, finally seeing some non-Stalkers from Suggy as he's Chrono boosting an Immortal, first Immortal onto the field. And not sure where these Stalkers are headed. looks like they're going to try and hit that Nexus again. Sinatra recognizing that he just can't defend the expansion with his force. It isn't big enough to overpower the Stalkers, and it's not mobile enough to handle that harassment. So he very prudently falls back, hoping his opponent makes another mistake, a bad blink in. Those two Immortals can just wreak havoc on those Stalkers. But Suggy looking to be in a very good position. He doesn't have the Colossus tech, which Sinatra could use to his advantage quite nicely. But that expansion really going to open this game up pretty fast, and Suggy's going to be in an excellent position once this starts to saturate. There is the expansion going down. Sinatra probably saw his opponent retreating, and figured he now has a force strong enough to threaten those Stalkers. He is getting a forge, which is nice to finally see. Game 1, both players not upgrading their weapons, which really hurt them both, I suspect. And still more Immortals, so Sinatra not opting for the Colossus, opting instead for those Immortals. And Suggy decided to chase a probe all the way into his own base to stop the scouting, and continuing to mass Immortals and Stalkers. Off that expansion, he will be able to get a very, very large mass of range units and really abuse the Zealots. Sinatra opting for a Zealot heavy build, and using the range, he will be able to exploit that. And it looks like Suggy is preparing to harass once again. You'll see that his army is not any larger than his opponent's. Neither player has really gotten an edge. However, the harass has been effective in doing damage. Really, all that damage there did was undo the economic loss, but Suggy definitely going to pull ahead now. 44 over 30 workers. So pretty soon we're going to start seeing that numbers gap start to increase.